or your brilliance. Who would not want that? But there are many paths to greatness, as many paths as there are people, which brings us to a place where there are a lot of people. Here's John Hockenberry.
India, land of wonders, the Himalayas, the mighty Ganges, the Taj Mahal. Perhaps it's because the people of India live amidst so many wonders of the world that some feel the need to contribute wonders of their own. Guinness record holders like Kalyan Ramji Singh, who's managed to grow the world's longest mustache. Deepak Sayal, who stacked 253 coins in a single column.
How low can you go?
And Ankareddy Gowri from the city of Vizag,
All around the limbo world.
who at age 4 enshrined herself in the Guinness Book by shimmying under a limbo bar set only 4.5 inches off the ground. Milan Deshmukh got into the 1994 Guinness Book by walking more than 64 miles with a milk bottle balanced on his head.
As a child, he used to do it for fun, and it was only later when he read of a record break in this category that he was inspired to do it himself.
And photographer Sridhar Chilal is the proud owner of the world's longest fingernails.
He used to be very worried that his family would cut his nails off while he was asleep.
But Chilal tells us he'd be glad to cut them off himself for anyone willing to pay him $200,000.
It's a lot of what you might call physical records in the sense of longest mustache, longest hair, longest fingernails, crawling the greatest distance. Those type of records seem to come out of India.
Mark Young is editor of Guinness's American edition.
Are there frankly outlandish requests that come from India?
One that I got was a gentleman claimed he could contort his stomach muscles to look like a lion's head. And what he sent me was the x-ray showing his stomach. And I felt that it didn't quite look like a lion's head, more a leopard.
And you were supposed to go, oh, well, that obviously goes under...
Absolutely, under
lion's
physiology, and let's put it right in there.
You could make quite a book out of the people here who don't make it into Guinness. Every year, 20% of their applicants come from India.
Isn't it odd that this book becomes such a focal point, this Western book becomes such a focal point for people here in the East?
Well, maybe it's not a Western book at all. It's an Indian book. Maybe it should shift to India. That is where its real home is.
Sudhir Kakar is a prominent Indian psychiatrist.
So what's the big deal in India about getting in the Guinness Book of World Records?
The kind of society it is. There are lots of people with great dreams of grandiosity, grandeur, uniqueness, and very little avenues to express them or to fulfill them.
Anywhere you go in India, you'll find Guinness wannabes, like these students in New Delhi who, with the encouragement of their teacher, are attempting to get into the book for an event they call chain typing.
Must be hard to find carbon paper around here.
They sent in an application to Guinness and got this letter in reply.
Dear Mr. Sharma, thank you for your letter. He's very nice.
Yes.
We do not currently publish a record in our book for chain typing. And he says this appears to be a little too unique for our publication.
Yes, they have established that.
But for the nation that came up with Buddhism and Hinduism thousands of years ago, striving for perfection goes way beyond Guinness. To people in India, the young man who smashes the most tiles in a single morning is looking for a truth beyond himself, something immortal. Like the man who amassed the world's largest collection of light bulbs. Or this fellow who pulls a bus with his teeth. He usually pulls a train with his teeth, but he wasn't feeling well that day. But one man's spiritual quest can look like a cheap stunt to the Guinness Book people. So to accommodate their vast numbers of record seekers, Indians created the Limca Book of Records, where tile smashers and chain typists can have their moment in the sun, too. But if you're determined to go for Guinness, chances are you've made a pilgrimage to New Delhi to meet this man.
Hi, Mr. Rishi. How's everything?
Yeah, hello, sir. Welcome, sir. Welcome.
Mr. Rishi is the self-appointed historian, archivist, founder, and president of the Guinness Record Breakers Club of India. And he's turned his small home into a veritable shrine.
So this is the place.
Yes, sir.
This is the place. Sort of the Hall of Fame.
I apologize. The place is very narrow and congested.
You don't have to be in the book to be in Mr. Rishi's club. Hopefuls are welcome too.
How many people are in your club?
We have more than 700 persons. Those are fired by the spirit of adventure.
And in that spirit, record and non-record holders alike send Rishi videotapes commemorating their efforts. And that's not all they send him.
This is the smallest Quran in the world.
Smallest Quran.
This book has 508 pages.
And somebody's checked to see that every word's in here?
Yes, sir.
What's this here?
Longest greetings communicated through a fax.
This is the longest fax in the world?
This is the longest fax in the world.
Sent and received in one piece, it's been forwarded to Guinness for verification.
Thanks for helping.
The fax is as long as 2 city blocks, as we found out unfurling it in midday Delhi traffic.
Hey, look, it's the world's longest fax. Will you settle down?
Mr. Rishi is a Guinness record holder too, for world's longest non-stop scooter ride, 1,001 hours, refueling on the run. And in honor of his achievement, he changed his name to Guinness Rishi.
What was your name before?
Har Prakash Rishi. Har Prakash Rishi was my real name.
But believe it or not, these record holders take Guinness even more seriously than Mr. Rishi.
We are the first to go around or circumnavigate the 6 continents in an automobile.
It took Calcutta real estate tycoons Nina and Salu Chowdhury 69 days. But just to make sure they wouldn't lose their Guinness record, they drove around the world again in half that time. They spent hundreds of thousands of dollars of their own money, and still, they say, the book did not get it right. Because
the most important, vital word first was missing.
They didn't say you were first.
No?
They mention it in our certificates, but it is not in the book.
It is not in the book.
We're not the Guinness Book of First, we're the Guinness Book of Records.
When we wrote, they wrote back saying is due to the lack of space. Lack of space for what? One word.
First.
First, 5 letters.
Mr. Chowdhury feels that he should be in there permanently as the first person to do it, but that's not what we do. We just record what is the record at the time we go to press.
But some Guinness records are timeless, milestones in human history.
And of course, Neil Armstrong is set up for life.
Neil, yes, definitely.
First man on the moon.
Absolutely. And eventually the first man to land on Mars, or woman, will also go into the book.
So your advice to Mr. Chowdhury would be go to Mars?
No, my advice to him would be study the editorial, the policy of the book, talk with us. If you want to have a go at a record, you're welcome to any time.
But the Chowdhurys aren't interested in doing any more driving. They want to be listed as first permanently. Until they are, they've convinced the judge to ban the sale in India of all current editions of the subcontinent bestseller.
If you are the first, you deserve those credentials. They're robbing us of it.
You know, injustice done anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
India is a nation with nearly 1 billion people, each trying fearlessly to stand apart from the crowd. Like Danan J. Kulkarni, who insisted that we document his quest to make it into Guinness by eating light bulbs.
He prefers eating tube lights to the bulbs. He says fluorescent light does taste much better than incandescent.
We convinced Mr. Kulkarni not to eat his light bulbs for our cameras, and he really didn't mind. He knows there is no single path to perfection. Even if he can't be in the Guinness Book, he showed us that the Guinness Book can be in him.
My.
So, what have you all done lately?
You know, what's interesting, they seem to take themselves perfectly seriously and think that they're normal.
Well, it should be said, everyone in India isn't into this, but
Right.
the people who are, as you say, very, very serious. And I think there's a kind of absolute quality about the Indian record seekers. And I think there is something kind of appealing about it, even though it is rather strange.
John, who buys this book?
The Guinness book is sold all over the world. It is the best, one of the best-selling books in India. And it's, you know, the kind of thing that hangs around and allows people to win bets and settle scores and settle disputes of perhaps not the most earth-shaking kind, but nevertheless, the Guinness book is it. It's the authority.
All right, tell us, which of the records did you envy the most?
Did I? And well,